We do want finance to flow, but will this encourage bad lending?
Well, no. I mean, the problem that we've experienced in recent times is that it became too hard and too costly and too complex for Australians who can afford to take out a loan to get a loan. And, as we want to encourage the strongest possible economic recovery post-COVID, the appropriate flow of credit into the community and into business is going to be a very important part of that equation. And the regulatory burden just went too high in the wake of the global financial crisis and the way it has developed ever since. And this is a correction. We've got to ensure that there are appropriate consumer protections in place for those vulnerable consumers that need that protection. But we've also got to ensure that those Australians and those businesses who require access and are able to deal with access responsibly to borrowings can get that access so that they can invest in their new home or invest in their business.
But when money is already so tight, don't people run the risk of falling into a debt trap?
Well, clearly people have to make those judgments, but what we are seeing now is that those Australians who clearly have a high number of assets, who have got a capacity to pay, are finding it increasingly difficult to get a loan because the banks have become incredibly risk-averse and incredibly conservative in the context of what they perceive to be the requirements imposed on them through the responsible lending obligations. And I mean, it's important to get the balance right. It's important to keep strong consumer protections in place, for example, in relation to those small account credit contracts or consumer leases and the like. But when it comes to lending overall, when it comes to lending to small business, when it comes to mortgages to invest in residential homes, then we've got to make sure that we get a better balance.
JobSeeker supplement is being wound back today, Minister. Can you provide any guarantee that it won't go any lower come budget time?
Well, the budget will be delivered on the 6th of October, and I'll leave the announcements then. But I mean, we have extended, of course, the JobSeeker arrangements, including the coronavirus supplement, to the end of December, and that will certainly, that will be the setting until the end of December. And we'll make further judgments, as we've indicated, on the ongoing arrangements once we've got access to more data, by the end of the year.
Can you at least concede that the previous level was too low?
Well, we've effectively doubled the JobSeeker payments for a temporary period. It was always designed to be a temporary period. And as of today, what we've also done, we've increased what is called the income-free area. That is the amount of money a job seeker is allowed to earn through work before they lose any of their job seeker payments. We've increased that from $105 to $300 a fortnight. So, there's a capacity for job seekers to continue to receive their job seeker payment, to continue to receive the coronavirus supplement, and also to earn more money through work before they lose any of those payments.
JobKeeper, meanwhile, it's going to be wound back next week. How much are you expecting that to affect the jobless rate?
Well, JobKeeper is a wage subsidy that goes to the business, and many businesses across the economy have recovered. The unemployment rate has come down, and in fact is well below where we feared it would be. And it's entirely appropriate for businesses to start paying an increased share of the income, of the wages of their employees out of their income, as they transition towards paying the full cost of the wages of their employees out of their income. This is part of an orderly transition. The JobKeeper payments at the $1,500 a fortnight level were always there just for a temporary 6-month period. We're now progressively phasing that down between now and the end of March. And businesses that recover and many businesses are in that position, of course, would be expected to pay an increasing proportion of the wages of their employees out of their income.
The Treasurer says that there can be no budget deficit repair until the jobless figure drops below 6%. How long will that take?
Well, I don't think that is quite what he said. I think you're verbaling him here. What we've said is that our first priority is going to be on the economic and jobs recovery. And of course, that is important. And as the economy and job numbers recover, I mean, that in itself will help with budget repair, because on the back of stronger growth and lower unemployment, more people in work, more people paying income tax, and fewer people relying on income support through our welfare system, that in itself will help us to repair the budget. And what the Treasurer has said, quite rightly, is that as we want to maximise the strength of that recovery and the strength of the jobs recovery, we don't want to increase the tax burden, and we don't want to pursue austerity measures. But of course, we want to repair the budget as soon as possible on the back of stronger growth, more jobs, and controlling expenditure when that is appropriate to do so.
But as for a surplus, I mean, what are we looking, 5, 10 years away?
Well, you know, again, I mean, the budget will be released on the 6th of October, and all of those specifics, you know, will be announced in the budget.
OK. Minister claims this morning that the government is about to spend $4.5 billion to buy 29 American-made Apache choppers. Is that true?
Well, you know, I saw that story running this morning, and so I sought advice. My advice is that there is a procurement process underway, that no decision has been made. You know, the procurement process is obviously underway. That happens at arm's length from our level of government. It's something that happens through the defence portfolio, and you know, I would just leave the procurement process to take its course.
There would have to be an official tender process, though, wouldn't there be, for something like this?
Indeed.
OK. So the critics have said, I know you sort of, it's outside your portfolio, I get that, but critics have said that the aluminium frame, which could corrode quite easily in our conditions, it's too big for our hangars. Would you have concerns about all of that? Do you think they're warranted?
Well, I mean, I think that this is a premature question. I mean, because it's based on an assumption that a decision has been made, when I've just told you that no decision has been made.
But conversations are being had about it.
Well, there's a procurement process underway, and what I suspect is happening here is that some people are seeking to pursue the procurement process through the media. I mean, the procurement process, I'm very confident, is assessing all of the various relevant factors before a final decision is made, and a final decision hasn't as yet been made.
OK. Still with the ADF of sorts, Stephen Miles, Deputy Premier of Queensland, he's accused the Treasurer of lying and using the ADF as a bargaining chip to pressure the states to open the borders. What's your view on that?
Well, you know, the Treasurer was absolutely right, and the Deputy Premier in Queensland was wrong. I mean, you know, in the end, I mean, it's the states that want to impose state borders, and it's a matter for the states to, you know, if that's what they want to do and if that's what they think is warranted, then it's a matter for the states to ensure that they've got the means and tools in place to manage those borders that they are imposing. But you know, as far as the ADF is concerned, they've provided extraordinary support to the states to ensure that they can appropriately manage their quarantine arrangements as appropriate. I mean, you know, clearly, as many of the state Labor governments have pointed out to us, and as the federal leader of the Labor Party has pointed out to us, you know, we need to prioritise quarantine arrangements, and that is precisely what we're doing.
But you know, are there enough members of the ADF to do both, to man the border and also man hotel quarantine?
Well, state borders, I mean, Australia is not designed to have state borders on an ongoing basis, and if state and territory governments want to maintain borders, or if state governments rather want to maintain borders, then, you know, clearly, you know, the prime responsibility to ensure that they can manage those state border closures, which they are insisting on, is a matter for them. OK. Finance Minister Mathias Cormann, busy couple of weeks ahead for you. Thank you for your time this morning. We'll talk to you again soon.